okay, you are Rick Caruso's most loyal soldier. Many people are saying you are the Fedayeen for Rick Caruso.
Okay, so
is this true? I literally don't know. I only have heard you talk about crime a while ago, like when you and I talked about it. You know what my takes were back then.
Yeah.
Since then, it seems to have evolved into unimaginable places.
So first of all, people, as always, have a simplistic way of looking at politics. So by the way, yeah, does that include leftists? Yes, definitely. Okay, they're like, me no like Caruso. Me think Caruso is the same exact thing as Trump. No, wait a minute, hold on. Now you're saying absurd things. Okay, no one's the same exact thing as Donald Trump. So and you saying that you're
billionaire real estate developer,
yeah, but one that isn't a total moron, the one that didn't try to end democracy. But most importantly,
he's more dangerous.
Most importantly is they say if you vote for someone, that means you love them. Okay, no, it doesn't mean that. When you vote for someone, it means you endorse them. That doesn't mean that at all either. Okay, at no point did I go and say, "Oh, you have to vote for Rick Caruso." I endorse Rick Caruso. I think Rick Caruso is great. I never said any of that.
But you say you were voting for Rick Caruso.
Him, and guess what? I did vote for him. So why did I vote for Rick Caruso? Because I think Rick Caruso is amazing and he's a savior? No, of course not. I voted for him because he's the better of the two options. Why is he the better of the two options? Mainly because of Karen Bass. If you think Karen Bass is going to do, I mean, I'd be shocked if you think this, but if you think Karen Bass is going to do,
I love Karen Bass.
Anything, she's going to do nothing.
No, I think
nothing.
I think she's going to be the exact same kind of Democratic mayor that Garcetti was, which is just holding. But that's every mayor, dude. That's like literally that is literally every mayor. Los Angeles is not going to get a good fucking solidly leftist mayor. Neither is New York. It's always going to be people that are trying to juggle between the real estate developers' interests and the police unions, and maybe a little bit more special interest sprinkled on top of it. But that's pretty much it. That's like always going to be the mayor's position. That's the unfortunate reality. Okay. Now, having said that, as always, as is the case with every fucking election, we had a moment where we were either going to vote for a dog shit candidate like Karen Bass, who didn't even make an effort, like didn't even make a fucking marginal effort in like going after some progressive voting blocks or saying that she was going to do anything progressive remotely, and just basically was like, I'm blue, I'm a real Democrat, vote for me, versus infinitely worse candidate in the form of Rick Caruso, who is quite literally all of the issues that create homelessness personified. It's like wrapped into a like, you know, an Italian human skin, which by the
really quick, Hasan goes on to correctly identify that Rick Caruso is directly responsible for all of the things that drive homelessness. And James, yeah, he is 100%. Still my guy. 100% my guy. And I would also, just food for thought for everybody, think back to 2016. This could have easily been a discussion between a Hasan guy who was like, no, I understand we need to vote for Hillary, though, because Donald Trump is a fascist and a huge threat to the United States. And Cenk being like, let's go for the crazy guy. Let's go for the billionaire tycoon. Hey, bro. With Hillary Clinton, par for the course. I'm just saying, let's try something different. I don't like what he said about Mexicans. I don't think they're rapers. Okay, I don't think they're lazy at all, man. But I don't think Trump really thinks that either, man. That's just what he says, right? Okay, that's what Cenk is doing right now. He's playing the Trump guy, the Trump reasonable guy. That's the hat he's putting on right now.
Absolutely. And although he, correctly pointed out that, obviously Rick Caruso is not the same person as Donald Trump. No shit. The defenses you hear for voting for Rick Caruso from Rick Caruso supporters, people like Cenk Uygur, are almost identical to the excuses and the logic espoused by Trump supporters. Again, Hillary was the status quo candidate. Trump's at least talking about shaking things up. And that was true. Hillary Clinton was the status quo candidate. And Trump was talking about shaking things up, just mostly for the worse, just like Rick Caruso. So it's pretty ironic that Cenk can, so accurately identify that cognitive dissonance on the right, but then he'll fall into the same trap as a so-called leftist when it comes to the issue of crime. Anyway, let's keep watching.
By the way, I didn't vote for him because I'm, anti-POC, anti-Italian. That's why I didn't vote for him.
He's such a person of color.
Yeah.
Okay, so look, good. We agree. Karen Bass would have done nothing. So then that leaves two things, right? So, and is going to do nothing. And by the way, as always, I'll just say, I hope I'm wrong. I hope she's great. I hope she actually does something. And by the way, I don't want her going further left. Doing something would be actually doing something about crime and just the anarchy, absolute anarchy. In LA.
I don't want her moving to the left.
We'll talk.
Quote Cenk.
Yeah, literally saying, I don't want her moving to the left. I want him to actually do something. Yeah.
about it. We'll talk about it. Okay, but do I think Caruso was going to be a savior and was going to say, no, I know that the mayor of LA is a weak position. I know that he's was going to look out for his own interests, of course, right? But was there a 10% chance that he might do something? Yes. And why? Why is there a 10% chance? Because number one, what are you spending $80 million for if you're not going to try to do something? Like, so what does something mean? It could mean, no, he was going to try to skim more off the top, build more developments, etc. But he can do that just by bribing Democrats like he's been doing his whole career. So he doesn't really need that. No, if he wanted to run for higher office or he wanted to brag about being a great mayor, he would actually have to try. So I voted for someone who's going to try instead of someone who you can guarantee is not going to try.
I mean,
okay?
he just wanted to. I think he just wanted to cut out the middleman.
Yeah.
Like that's the way I see it. Because
you don't need it, Haas.
But why? But the reason
he's got a gravy train.
But the reason why people like Karen Bass are shitty is literally because Rick Caruso owns them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So he's just trying to cut out the middleman and be more fucking aggressive and worse overall than Karen Bass, because like they're not going hard enough. The difference between Karen Bass and Rick Caruso on homelessness is marginal, but Rick Caruso is in the worst direction, where he just wanted to. Both of them are advocating for sweeps, just like Eric Garcetti, by the way. I don't give a fuck what Eric Garcetti ran on or what he said he was going to do, but they all do sweeps. Sweeps have not stopped in Los Angeles at all. You and I probably have a disagreement on what sweeps are, why sweeps are bad. I don't even think you think sweeps are bad. I assume you think they're not bad at all, given what you just said about
it
anarchy.
On what you mean. It depends on what you mean. But
sweeps are when police come
Garcetti?
in.
I've never heard of him. Like that guy's been on vacation for how many years?
Yeah, of course. He's non-existent. Council district positions are probably way more prominent and way more influential in Los Angeles and than the mayor is. Regardless, though, and you are correct on the Garcetti thing, the reason why homelessness has continued growing in Los Angeles and in California in general, despite Garcetti's approach to it, or despite everyone else's approach to it in the city councils, is because sweeps, taking homeless people from like one fucking corner of the street to the next one, like as though all of a sudden it's just they're gone or whatever, is a demonstrable failure. The only difference between Rick Caruso and Karen Bass's was going to be that Rick Caruso was interested in putting them in fucking concentration camps. No. Okay, sorry. Okay. He didn't use the term concentration camp. He said he wanted to concentrate homeless people out in a tent city built outside of like city limits.
No, he said many different things. He wanted to set up different centers in different like lots that the city owns in different parts of the city, etc. Look, the sweeps are generally useless. But Garcetti wasn't even doing sweeps. Garcetti just stopped.
But we still have doing everything. So why you don't think sweeps are happening in Los Angeles?
I mean, maybe they're happening, but they're happening a lot less frequently. But it doesn't matter. That's not going to.
Jake is giving you such, like, I swear to God, Trumpian energy. I swear to God. Let me just repeat this in exactly what Cenk said in a Trump voice. They're not doing any sweeps. What does he do? He's been on vacation. There's been no sweeps. And I thought, oh, there's definitely been sweeps. Well, maybe there have been some sweeps, but not very many sweeps. There haven't been that many sweeps at all. Probably basically no sweeps. He's not going to send them out of town. What is he going to do? He's going to send them somewhere else. Not out of town, elsewhere, somewhere else. That's what he's going to do. Who knows what he's going to do? What's he going to do? We said a bunch of things. What is he going to do? That's what Cenk is doing, because he's just a blubbering, obfuscating, horseshit mess of a guy that doesn't want to see homeless people, doesn't want to see poor people anywhere in a city. And he's going to equate the fact that people can't pay the astronomical rent prices in LA. Gavin and I can't move to fucking LA because we can't pay those rent prices. We would be the fucking dudes getting swept on Venice Beach. If we tried to live out there, we'd have our little podcast mics out there being like, hey guys, we're live from fucking our tent city. That would be us. Okay, we're no different than those people. If you forced us to have grown up in LA, I can't fucking pay $3,000 a month for a 1-bedroom. Are you out of your fucking mind? Who can? Who can? So that's one thing. Also, the thing he said about people being forced out of the city limits of Los Angeles, the county limits of Los Angeles, 100% true. And do you know where they're forcing them to? The desert, so they can die of dehydration and lack of access, and where there's no community and there's no people to be around. Do you know why homeless people build fucking tent communities? So there's solidarity, so that there's a network of people. You ever been to a tent city, Cenk? No, you fucking haven't, you prejudiced piece of shit. When you go there, you see all kinds of resourcefulness. You see the most humanity you've ever seen in your fucking life. Okay. This dude, he found a guy in England that owned a plot of shitty land in Kansas City. And so him and about 30 other people, 30, built an entire town basically got a generator that they fixed up. They had all this kinds of stuff going. City comes in and destroys it. Says, get the fuck out of here. Now what do those people do? Now they have to walk around and now they're doing that anarchy that you're talking about with just existing in a public place.
Solve the problem in the long run. Look, there's a couple of things here. So first of all, we're going to have a giant disagreement on how bad crime is, right? So
well, yeah, I'm just going to look at numbers. And
no, I have numbers too, first of all. And second of all, you guys are 100% wrong on one critical issue, right? Which is that there's a massive amount of crime that's just not being reported, okay? And how do I know that? Because literally everyone I know in LA says, oh, there was a crime, I didn't bother reporting it because cops never show up. Okay, so you're going to say it's anecdotal, but let me give you one sense of it.
No,
okay.
I wasn't going to say that. I mean, it is quite literally an anecdote. However, you are right. It's the blue flu literally all across the fucking country, but we are held hostage by a police force that just simply refuses to do their jobs at all and have never really been good at doing their jobs regardless. And that much is true, but the answer to that is a strong mayor.
So look, that's exactly my point though, Haas. You know Karen Bass is not going to be strong at all. The cops are going to say, yeah, we're not going to do our job. What are you going to do about it? And she goes, oh, I'm so sorry, right?
Yeah, but Rick
so
Caruso,
here's what Caruso could have done. Again, it's like a 10% chance. We're like gambling here on like 0 versus 10%. So number one, the cops want to blow Caruso, so they might actually work, right? So, and that's not fair and that's not right, but it's true. Right. So that's point one. Second is Caruso is at least strong. So if let's say the cops, if I was mayor, really, let's put it this way, and the cops are like, oh, blue flu, we're not working. I'd be like, okay, I'd instantly start firing droves of them. Right. And then they would say, oh, you can't do that. We're going to sue you. I'm like, I know. Sue us. Go sue us. But if you're not going to do your job, you're fired. You're beyond fired. And I'll make a public spectacle out of it. And if I can catch you committing a crime, I'll put cops in handcuffs and walk them out. Okay. So I'm not going to tolerate anybody not doing their goddamn job if they're a cop. Now, would Caruso have been that strong? Of course not. He loves cops. But would he have been potentially stronger than Karen Bass? Anything. A light breeze is stronger than Karen Bass.
I understand that.
Okay.
Except cops are also not the solution to crime, just like cops
They're
even
beginning
before
of a solution.
Well, here's the issue. Okay. You and I have a fundamental disagreement on the reason for why crime is happening. I think you say I'm like too theoretical and too like pie in the sky because of my attitude to it, which is that there are demonstrable ways to cut crime, and all of those roads lead to material benefits for working class people, specifically by eliminating certain problems that they have. We also have a difference in agreement between you and I, where I think you, much like many people in your demographic, see disorder and lawlessness in the form of like homeless people existing in society around all of us.
That's
and
not what we're saying.
Well, a lot of people that are in Los Angeles, if not you, that voted for Rick Caruso in with similar, like, I'm actually a very nice liberal person kind of attitude, voted for Rick Caruso because they assume when they see a homeless person, they think crime. Now, first and foremost, let me be clear. Do homeless people commit crimes? Yeah, of course they do. I mean, there's a dude that like jacks off outside my house all the fucking time, literally all the time. And the reality is, like, the way to deal with that and the way to ensure that more people don't become what I call tier 3 homeless, the type of homeless people that you see that are very clearly suffering from mental health complications as a consequence of being homeless for an extended period of time. The way to ensure that that doesn't happen anymore is by creating more housing, affordable housing, and also having a housing first approach to dealing with homeless people. You
Look at that
disagree
shit
with me, but this.
What were you gonna say, Zach?
I was probably come in and say a very similar thing to what you are. Imagine sitting here as a dude that proclaims to be a beacon of progressive values and thinking that the solution to homelessness isn't to fucking house people, right? What's the difference between a mentally ill person that lives in a fucking mansion? There are plenty of mentally ill people in this country, people who suffer from addiction, people who suffer from any kind of psychological disorders, and they still make their way through the fucking world, right? They what's the difference between them and the homeless population? Resources. It's about how much bread do you have? What kind of a barrier can you put between yourself and the streets, right? So when you have an episode, are you having an episode in your own home? Are you doing it around people you know in a safe community? Or do you have no one? You're just left out in the lawless cold. You're having an episode. You have no access to medication, no access to treatment, right? No, giving those people a house wouldn't help at all, Jane. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, you don't want to, like, it obviously it does come down to, he'll be like, nobody I know. It's like, because you live in fucking Beverly Hills, Jank. You live around a bunch of aristocratic fucks that don't want to see poverty because they deep down know they're directly responsible for it because of the profiteering that they do. Jake wants to be able to invest in a real estate mutual fund and go to sleep at night, right? Like, this is a guy that's a capitalist to his core. He'll say that shit like Elizabeth Warren did. I'm a capitalist to my bones. Like, that's what he believes in. So he has to have this cognitive dissonance between the way that he lives and the way that he wants to profit for himself, and the actual, not just what he perceives, but the degradation that he is doing to human lives, human souls that are out here suffering in a real meaningful way. He has to have that cognitive dissonance, because otherwise it would just probably be too much for the guy, right? So he has to convince himself that, get this, the solution for homelessness isn't to house people. That's what he just said out of his fucking mouth right there. It's absolutely unbelievable.
This is something that has worked literally around the globe. There are examples of this.
It's been tried all across the country and it hasn't worked at all. It's never worked. Okay, so
you cannot say that we've had a housing first homeless policy anywhere in the United States of America.
Okay, are you kidding me? LA's been trying to do housing first this whole time. It's nothing. There's no houses. There's never going to be any houses.
Exactly. Do you want to know why?
And we're going to wait around and
we got $150 million. Wait, we got
while we're all waiting for 12 houses to be built.
Los Angeles got $150 million from the federal government to deal with the homeless crisis on top of the $80 billion budget surplus we had. Why do you think, what was the hotel conversion, the motel conversion policy? Why did none of those initiatives actually have money spent? As a matter of fact, they sent the $150 million back to the federal government after not using it. You want to know why?
Because Democrats are losers.
No, that's true. Okay. But the real reason is because real estate developers were like, fucking build houses? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Real estate developers like Rick Caruso are always.
No, you guys don't get it.
It's not even funding. Like these guys unironically are like, they're, even when there's money, they're like, do not fucking build another house. Do not build any affordable.
By the way, this is such a great illustration of how neoliberalism literally leads to fascism, because you got people like Cenk over here that are equating the neoliberal position, which is not the leftist position, with the left, suggesting that, oh, to go further left is to further embrace these neoliberal policies, these failed policies of mayors like Eric Garcetti. And then when those policies don't work, then they fall right into the hands of the fascist position, which is the one being presented by Rick Caruso. Well, if the neoliberal is not going to do anything, then we're going to go full fucking fascist. And then quote unquote liberals like Cenk fall right into it, because again, they're like, well, if the liberals aren't going to do anything, I'd rather have fucking literal fascism. And it's just a great illustration of how that works across the board. We saw that with the Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump example. Obama didn't do shit. Hillary was promising to continue not doing shit. And then what did a lot of voters in America, a lot of desperate people that didn't know any better, what did they say? Well, at least Donald Trump is saying he's going to try. At least this guy seems like he has some ideas, even if they're fucking fascist ideas, right? It's such a beautiful illustration of how the incompetence of neoliberalism and the corruption of neoliberalism opens the door to actual fascism.
Yep. And this phenomenon is not exclusive to the United States. We saw the exact same thing take place over the David Cameron reign in UK when, he was prime minister. And after that, what did we get? What did they get? A fucking reign of Tory control, right? They had Boris. They had what's her fuck that was before Boris. And now they have Theresa May was and now they have, So anyway, long string of Tory control after that, because why? Neoliberalism doesn't work. And so they got Brexit and they got all these ultra conservative austerity policies passed, which also, shocker, doesn't work. What they never, ever actually try would be the Corbyn approach to politics over there. And what we never try is the Bernie Sanders approach to politics over here, which would provide real, meaningful, tangible solutions.
Housing.
Of course. You guys don't understand markets. So look, there's so many things to address here. But is Rick Caruso and all the developers going to voluntarily build affordable housing? Of course not. You're asking them to take a loss on something when they can make a giant amount of money. Of course, they're not going to do that voluntarily. Waiting for them to do it is moronic. So you have
not.
No, I know. So what I'm saying is, blaming Caruso or anyone else, you can do it. I don't mind. Caruso's not my uncle. I don't give a shit, right? But I can't believe how greedy he is. But that's not going to solve anything, right? You have to force them to do affordable housing.
I agree.
Force them, right? And the Democrat would never do that. Because there's the minute they run into a donor, they wet themselves. Oh, Oh, it's a donor. I bet you Canvas turns around and kisses Caruso's ass.
Okay. I don't disagree with anything you just said. I've never been like a vote for the Democrat and we'll solve all the problems type of person anyway.
Okay,
As a matter of fact, I care very little about that. That's why I always talk about organizing power. And that's why I always talk about making sure that there are organizations that are out there that are creating the mechanism of pushback so that we can bully the fucking Democratic Party to then finally
that's
get
literally
shit
what
done.
I've been trying to build for
that's what I agree. So that's what I do. That's what I advocate for, tenants unions and the like.
You guys like criticize the developers, it's wasting your breath. They're always going to maximize profit. Move on. Get to the government.
I know, but I'm not talking.
This is why Gavin, Hasan, and I would just critique the entire system of capitalism, which perpetuates this nonsense, and Cenk is unwilling to identify that as a critical. Isn't it a problem, Cenk, that those people will never actually help the homeless population, that they will rather sacrifice everybody's lived experience and livelihood in order to make themselves even richer, and that's how they became billionaires anyway? Isn't that a problem? You're just stating it as a matter of fact. It's like, yeah, that is the experience now, and that's what we need to change if we ever want to solve this problem. But you have no interest in addressing the incentives of the developers. Like, shouldn't we have government developers that actually want to build government housing, which we used to do all the fucking time in the period that people like Rick Caruso, Donald Trump, Cenk Uygur, fucking everybody says was the most robust and bustling time of American history? Like, we used to have so much affordable we used to build government housing for people. We used to have rent control in this country. We used to do these things so that regular people could actually afford to have homes. There were massive government subsidies to allow people to buy homes in the most booming part of American history. Okay, guess what? That's all gone now. Now you have to take out a fucking 8% mortgage loan. Nobody can fucking afford that when houses are fucking $2 million for a single family home.
But I'm not talking in fucking policy wonks. I'm talking in normies who don't understand it. So of course I'm gonna fucking shit on landlords and real estate developers because they don't even understand. But they personally, most people don't even understand. They're like, what? Like, I kind of don't like my landlord. Asshole. Painted fucking white over everything and didn't really fix anything. That's like your only experience. You don't understand like the policy implications on top of that level of capital accumulation in the hands of few people and what kind of policy implications that has. They are able to get their desires across to Democrats and Republicans.
And by the way, you have to have a distinction there between small business owners and large business owners, small landlords and large landlords. Large landlords are going to steamroll you. They only care about maximizing profit. And if they're an executive, they'll be fired and they'll be replaced by someone else. Small landlords oftentimes are good people who are small business owners trying to do the best they can. And oftentimes, by the way, they're pricks.
I don't care about a grandma or grandpa who has like a fucking nest egg and that's like their that's their pension, that's their retirement fund. That's not what I'm talking about.
That's not but I want to be clear because
but it doesn't matter.
Okay,
it doesn't
now
matter.
Let's go to homelessness. You say, look,
ultimately we're talking about homelessness. Okay. Yeah, so and if you think that a housing first policy has not been achieved or like some level of market control has not been successfully done, I'm sure you've heard this, like, the existence of places like Red Vienna, as a matter of fact, right? Where 65% of the fucking housing in Vienna, in Austria, is publicly owned. It's like literally government housing that they created. It's beautiful, it's mixed income, and it fucking works. Places with higher social safety nets, with better social safety nets, with better programs for reintegration, with less of a aggressive carceral state, unironically have demonstrably more positive results with combating recidivism, with dealing with homelessness. Like, these are places that exist on the planet.
So first of all, there's two different things that we have to talk about: short term and long term. In the long term, doing what Vienna did, what Utah did, what Houston is doing is correct. Okay. So in the long term, of course, you have to build affordable housing. Of course, you have to get folks into houses. Okay. So, but the problem is in the short term, when LA and other places go, oh, we're theoretically going to build houses 48 years from now. So in the short term, we're not going to do anything. Okay. And we're going to call that hashtag freedom. That doesn't make any sense. So what that leads to is what we have here in LA, which is, so I go to Supercuts a couple of weeks ago. The windows busted in. I asked the hairdresser what happened. The whole place, the entire strip mall is a disaster zone. Okay. The windows also broken at the ice cream shop right next to it. She said, well, people started coming in and just taking whatever they wanted. We would call the cops and then nobody ever came. So we stopped calling the cops. Now they started throwing bricks through our window. And so the ice cream place stopped fixing it. We keep fixing it every time they throw a brick. So this is a working class person that's pretty scared every time she comes into work because anyone can come in and take whatever they want because there's goddamn anarchy in LA. Like literally lawlessness. Okay. You smile, but it's literally, go ahead. You call the cops on the guy jerking off in front of the house. They won't come. Right.
Well, I mean,
so,
I wouldn't
so you don't
anyway.
want to call. Yeah, you don't want to call the cops. But how about a family that's got kids?
I mean, my mom stays with me here. It's not like it's a comfortable situation.
Yeah, and I don't think if he attacks your mom. Okay.
No,
goddamn right. I'm going to call the cops on that guy. So there's a guy who went and jerked off in front of a different haircut place in LA for 40 minutes. And the cops are like, whatever, who cares? The women inside are terrified. So if you say don't arrest that guy, I 100% disagree.
No, I'm not.
Definitely arrest that guy.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry right now. Cenk, one, is a millionaire. I'm just going to say I'm skeptical that he gets his haircut at Supercuts in a rough part of town. I'm just going to be honest, right? I don't get my haircut at Supercuts, and I make like $18 an hour, okay? So I'm going to be real with you there. I don't think I don't drive to the shittiest neighborhood to be like, hey, bro, let me go to the fucking busted ass window Supercuts to get out with my clipped coupon from People magazine to go out there. I'm just saying that sounds like a horseshit lie. So let's just set that aside. Maybe Cenk wanted to be able to use this as a talking point, right? So he drives. I don't even know where. Everywhere in LA is the same to me. Fucking traffic and fucking good weather. So maybe he goes somewhere in LA where it's like a fucking shitty neighborhood just so he can tell this story. But then he's pulling out there's another haircut place 40 minutes away with the dick whacker out outside. It's just like, Cenk, this is not your lived experience at all. You live in a bubble. You live in a very nice neighborhood. I've seen you do live streams from your house. It's fucking nice. Okay. It's nice. I've seen you walking around when you were running for Congress. You had to actually spend some time filming yourself in your district. That showed your ass, bro. And nobody out there is fucking getting their haircut at Supercuts at a busted in window. You're lying. You are doing what Republicans do all the time. You're pretending you're not a rich elitist. And that you actually have to suffer the way that people who are the most often victims of these crimes you're talking about, the working class. Do you know what the working class will tell you time and time again, Cenk? That they don't want the solutions you're offering, okay? We have a very good friend of the show, lovely, smart woman named Olai. I mean, she's a public defense attorney, and she'll talk about this better than we do. But essentially the point that she makes all the time is like, okay, it's always these rich assholes that have absolutely no experience with crime that are saying what everybody wants is more cops going around beating the crap out of these people. Do you know what happens when cops show up? Let me just give you an example, right? Because I had really mixed feelings about this when it happened to me the other day. I work at a bar, right? Dude comes in, mentally ill, obviously, right? And he starts like taking off his clothes, right? Can't really have that in your business, but I don't want to touch the guy. So I just say, hey, go call my GM. I'm like, hey, I don't know what you want to do about this guy, but like, I'm not fucking, touching him. I'm not throwing him out, like whatever. Right. They call the police. Police come right away. And you might be like, oh, this is Kansas City, right? Blah, 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 blah. They go, they chuck the dude outside and, that move on your merry way. Right. I would be very shocked that if you were a business owner in Los Angeles and you say there's a guy coming and he's like disrupting us, that they're not going to send at least somebody out there to do it. Because what do the cops love to do? They love to show up and do fucking nothing. Like that's I don't know. I'm just skeptical about this entire narrative that he's built. And he keeps saying, I've got numbers, I've got evidence. And then he'll be like, a random hairdresser I spoke to. It's just like, this is like, I don't know, the Daily Wire kind of shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to make it clear, no one on the left, ourselves included, thinks that people should just be able to get away with committing crimes and violence and stuff like that. Like, obviously, people should have to face some sort of consequences if they're just flagrantly committing crimes. And the left position is not just to let anarchy run rampant through the streets or whatever. The left position is an understanding, however, that we can't just incarcerate our way out of these problems, and just adding more money to the police budget or deploying more pigs on the street is not going to fix the problem. It might temporarily take the problem away. It might put a small band-aid on what is a much bigger issue, but it's not going to fix the problem. We can't incarcerate ourselves out of this problem. The only way to fix the issue is to actually materially improve these people's lives by creating a better society for them where their basic needs are met. No one with their basic needs met is out here masturbating on the street for 40 minutes in front of a hair salon or throwing bricks through the window of their local businesses. The reason I know that is because everyone I know who's stable and mentally well and has their basic needs met doesn't do those things. So that's not to excuse the crimes of people that do those things. It's just to acknowledge that incarceration and cops aren't the solution. The solution is to have those people's basic needs met. The solution is to give those people a life in which they don't feel the need to go do those things, in which their mental state is capable enough that they know better. So that's the leftist position. And it's just such a straw man for people like Cenk to pretend otherwise, when, of course, it's the left that actually is the only one that actually is trying to fix the solution. Fixing the systemic foundational issues is the only way to fix the solution. You could add $1 trillion to the LAPD budget, and the problem would not go away. The only way to make the problem go away, and I admit it's a problem. I'm not saying that homelessness isn't a real thing. That's not what we're saying at all. It's a humanitarian catastrophe. We're the ones that acknowledge that it's a real thing more than these NIMBY-ass liberals and these fascists like Rick Caruso, who think it could just be hidden from sight and done away with by cops and incarceration. No, those are the ones that are in denial. We're the ones that understand the gravity of the humanitarian catastrophe that is homelessness and actually want to fucking fix it. Unfortunately, that position's not being espoused by fucking neoliberals like Karen Bass or Eric Garcetti. But at least they don't want to add as much to the problem as a guy like Rick Caruso, who again firmly believes we can just incarcerate our way out of this and cop our way out of this problem, which is a fundamental misunderstanding of the issue itself.
No, I don't. First of all, that dude is committing a crime.
Exactly.
So yes, I do agree with arresting someone who has their dick out and are jerking out in public. That would be insane.
No, but a lot of leftists don't. They're like, oh, hashtag freedom.
You're like strawmanning leftists. Okay, I don't care about
I've
what
seen them do it.
I yell at fucking leftists for a living. Okay, as a professional career, that's what I do. It doesn't matter what people fucking think. You're talking to me right now. Stop like having this like broader argument with like the overarching left. Who gives a shit what people on Twitter think? No, if you're jerking off in public, yes, you should be, for a brief moment at least, taken away from that circumstance. Do I think that that person needs to go to jail permanently? No, I think that person needs mental health treatment. Like that person. No, I didn't say you said that.
Okay.
I'm giving you what my position is. We need to stop that guy from jerking off in the streets. Throwing him in jail for the night and then releasing him later is not going to stop him from jerking off. That's his passion. He loves jerking off in the street. No. He's never going to stop. The only way to stop that guy from jerking off in the fucking street is by, one, well, he wouldn't be jerking off the street if he had a fucking roof over his head, but also by getting him the adequate treatment that is an absolute necessity for him. Okay, that's it. That's what you need to do. And there's varying degrees of offenses too, which we're talking about.
So that gets into the midterm. So in the long term, we agree. Build affordable housing, get folks into affordable housing. In the short term, good, we agree. Arrest the guy. Okay, you throw a brick through somebody's window, you get arrested. You go in and take people's shit, you get arrested. You jerk off in the street, you get arrested. Okay, so these are obvious things, but not obvious to some. So then then when you talk about the midterm, so what do you do with that guy? So do I want to put that guy in prison for a long time? No, I don't. Right, but do I want to make sure that there are consequences? Yes. Okay, so why? Well, 3 years ago, nobody was jerking off in the streets in LA. Then we stopped enforcing the law completely, and now everybody's doing it. No, I'm serious. Literally driving my kid to school on Friday, guy in front of the 7-Eleven, like a couple of blocks from my house.
Bro, that
he's doing it. Guy,
I know.
A couple of weeks ago, dropping my parents.
It's not, dude.
There's a guy doing it right in front of their house.
The reason why there's more homeless people jerking off in the fucking streets
is because we're letting them.
No, dude.
100%.
No, you tell me. Come on. It's because there's more homeless people, and the more homeless people there are, the longer their homelessness continues, the more fucking mentally ill they become. And that's only happening as a consequence of the housing market. It's not even fucking correlation. It's a causal factor.
Don't infantilize them. They know there's a range. There's a spectrum.
Homeless people know exactly what they're doing.
Okay.
They're like,
no. There's a range. Okay. So for example, different anecdote. A neighbor that's 3 houses down from me, my street. Okay. A homeless guy comes and starts making lewd comments to women inside her house. She's scared to death. Okay. She says, I'm going to call the cops. He says, go ahead. They're not going to come. Okay. Now I've heard, go ahead. They're not going to come. half a dozen times, okay, in New York and LA. Like, so homeless people and
half a dozen times in New York and LA. So what is that? 3 times in New York and 3 times in LA? What is this anecdotal bullshit? Everyone's jacking off on the streets, bro.
Dude, it's insane. Also, he keeps saying, I've got numbers to back it up too, fam. And then he'll be like, my neighbor 3 doors down let a homeless person in their house and then freaked out. Like, what? How did they get in her house? He's in there. They're in their house. How, you didn't lock the door? Like, seems like the fucking square one to start. If you don't want strangers walking into your house, you could have just locked the door. You live in Beverly Hills. I think you got a door lock. You know what I'm saying? Like, the story didn't go, this violent homeless person with an axe came in like fucking Jack Nicholson in The Shining and starts fucking wailing down there. No, somehow this homeless guy ends up in their house and is like, I'm not leaving. Like, I guarantee you, if you call the cops for breaking and entering and attempted burglary in somebody's home in a fucking Beverly Hills or Orange County or wherever the fuck Cenk's at, they're gonna fucking come. That's like they just care about rich people too much to just fuck off and ignore you. Like, that's just how the police work. And also, Cenk is convincing me that, you know what, maybe I don't know. It's fucking absolutely absurd. Yeah, I was about to make the same joke. Like, maybe we just legalize jerking off in public and then we can start I don't give a fuck. That's what I'm running for mayor on. I'm gonna like the jerk it. The jerk it ticket. That's gonna be me. It'll be you know, wear a trench coat and it's fine. No, you know, give it the fuck, you know, hey. And also he thinks it only started 3 years ago that people started to masturbate in public. That's hilarious. Yeah.